Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Stop being a girl, get in there.
Easy is right. Chuang Tzu.
Don't be weak, toughen up.
So, this talk on discipline,
Quit being a wimp, show some backbone.
I had already done it before I even went to Sydney last month. I was even editing it. I was about to post it
No
out.
more mister. Nice guy.
Then-
Show them WHO is the man.
While attending the Sadhguru program, Soak in the Ecstasy of Enlightenment in Sydney, somebody asked the question, why is it that I have so much anxiety about my goals or ambitions? And Sadhguru said,
Don't be a pushover, stand strong.
it's because people are too nice to you. So he talked about how growing up,
Enough with the excuses, show some grit.
because the people used to have so many kids, you did not get as much attention. But nowadays, people are only having 1 or 2 kids, so they're too nice to them. So, after that, he talked about his how he got into yoga. Some of you already know the story, but
Stop
essentially,
being such a softie. Be
he met
resolute.
some guy who really impressed him because he was an old guy, but he could do things a lot better than Sadhguru. And Sadhguru used to feel like he was the best in doing that kind of thing. So he was like, I want to know how. So this guy is like, come, do yoga. So Sadhguru went there. Essentially, what he was saying was that the veterans of that place, where the yoga place, the class,
Don't be a
or gym.
PUSHAY. Grow some balls.
at that point in time, the older guys, they used to lash them. So you have to wrestle and do all these things. And if you try and sit down, they gotta lash, Shah! Lash you on the buttocks. So when you get hit on the ass, it's like, you can't sit down anyway.
Quit being so timid, show
So-
some guts.
I had done it, the script I had done previously was a lot more gentle. But after that, I started questioning. It's like the confusion comes, the thirst comes from those kind of answers. When Sadhguru gives you an answer, it's not really an answer. It's a way of like challenging whatever you hold in your mind. So it challenged me, and I was like, okay, I cannot post this the way it is. So I decided, let me give it some thought. And 3 weeks later, lot of thought. Anyway, so
Don't be a chicken, show some bravery.
when I was looking at it, what I had prepared in terms of the script, well, it talked about first how most of us grew up, or a lot of us, people who grew from tough environments where we were struggling as kids or whatever.
Don't be a wuss, show some courage.
Yeah, we went through this where discipline meant getting caned. I got caned so much, like my cousins, my uncles, my aunties, everybody, feels like
Don't be a soft, harden
take,
up.
disciplining you. this is what it was. In the style of like Major Payne, if you know the movie.
Stop being a coward. Be courageous.
Discipline. So when we talk about discipline, it's like a lot of us think about a drill sergeant, like an army kind of discipline. So control, conforming. Even the dictionary kind of defines like discipline as a control.
Don't be a weasel. Keep it gangsta.
Which is gained by requiring that the rules be followed or obeyed. Otherwise, there's punishment. So bringing under control is like, if the children don't behave according to whatever the principles or values or morals or whatever are that their parents have, they get punished. So this is the idea of discipline.
Keep it real. Don't be a COPOUT.
So in society, a lot of people see it like this. You get disciplined. It's like something that is done to you, So I wanted to have a look at it. Well, why? I've been struggling with discipline also. So essentially, yoga is a discipline.
Stop being a bish and just do it.
And we'll get into that a little bit more. And as part of my promise at the end of the video, I'll make a promise of a way that I'm going to make myself more disciplined, and how I've dealt with indiscipline in myself, making myself more disciplined, So
stand tall and be brave.
We'll go into it. But essentially, I've struggled. So after spending some time, and I will talk about this in more detail about my struggle in the next few weeks, I will do something on it. And I'll just talk about that journey, how it has been, how I've dealt with it, or how I've not dealt with it. But essentially, discipline comes from the word for learning. So it means to learn. This is what all spiritual leaders agree on. So Osho says like discipline means to learn. It comes from the same root as the word disciple. A disciple is one who is ready to learn, and discipline is that capacity of openness which helps you to learn. And Jiddu Krishnamurti also says this in the same way. So he talks about discipline means to learn, not to conform, not to suppress, not to imitate the pattern of what is accepted authority. So they both agree. Sadhguru also comes to it in a more of the same way. He says in English the word discipline means a learning or to learn. When you say I am disciplined, that means you are always willing to learn. You're not stuck in some mode. Discipline is not just something you do in a particular way. If you constantly strive, you're willing to learn how to do everything better, you're disciplined. So you cannot impose learning, but you can force people to do certain things. But once you start forcing people, if it's for a short while, it can be done. But if it's long term, your life will go. Their life will also go. In trying to enforce it, your life will go. Their life will go in trying to dodge it. So he says, if you bring yoga into your life, there's no way you cannot be disciplined, because yoga has to be done in a meticulous way. So, this is what Sadhguru says. Osho goes on to say, there is not only a difference, there is a vast difference between discipline and control. They are polar opposites. Control is from the ego. Discipline is from the non-ego. Control is manipulating yourself. Discipline is to understand yourself. Discipline is a natural phenomenon. Control is unnatural. Discipline is spontaneous. Control is a sort of suppression. Discipline needs only understanding. You understand and you act according to your understanding. Discipline has no ideal to follow. It has no dogma to follow. It is not perfectionistic. Control is perfectionistic. It has an ideal to be achieved. You have an idea in the mind about how you should be. Control has many shoulds and many should nots. Discipline has none. Discipline is a natural understanding, a flowering. So he goes on and he says discipline has nothing to do with control. In fact, a disciplined mind is never a mind which thinks in terms of control. There is no need for it. An undisciplined mind needs control because an undisciplined mind feels that without control there is danger. An undisciplined mind cannot trust itself. Hence, the control. For example, if you don't control yourself, you may kill somebody. In anger or in rage, you can be a murderer. You need control because you're afraid of yourself. So, a man of understanding, a man who understands himself and others, always feels compassion. Life is simple when you understand. There are no regulations or rules around it. There is no need. Because your very understanding is the rule of all rules. There is only one golden rule, and that is understanding. So he goes on and says that if you ask me the definition of what is right, I will say that which is done through understanding. You don't have to fix a dogma. You look around, you feel, you see, and then you act out of that feeling. Saying, knowing, the action comes. In the same way, Krishnamurti says, discipline, as is generally understood, is the act of will, which is violence. Freedom is not at the end of discipline, but the understanding of freedom is its own discipline. In learning, there is no accumulation. Knowledge is different from learning. Knowledge is accumulation, conclusions, formulas, but learning is a constant movement, a movement without a center, without a beginning or an end. To learn about oneself, there must be an accumulation. There must be no accumulation. To learn about oneself, there must be no accumulation in one's learning. If there is, it is not learning about oneself, but merely adding to one's accumulated knowledge of oneself. Learning is the freedom of perception, of seeing, and you cannot learn if you are not free. So this very learning is its own discipline. You don't have to discipline yourself and then learn. Therefore, discipline is a freedom. This denies all conformity and control, for control is the imitation of a pattern. A pattern is suppression of what is. And the learning about what is denied when there is a formula of what is good and what is bad. The learning about what is the freedom from what is. So learning is the highest form of discipline. Learning demands intelligence and sensitivity. To perceive all this clearly is to learn about it. To learn about it, there must be freedom from all conclusions and biases. Such conclusions and bias are observation from a center, the self. which wills and directs. So, from this understanding, firstly, for me, the definition of discipline is pretty simple. To do what is needed, when it's needed, how it's needed. This is discipline. Why? Because. So, why is never important. There is 1,000 reasons which you can have. But the freedom comes from, let me say, discipline is action which comes out of freedom. This is not out of reasons. Reasons are just explanations, which is mostly knowledge, So this is the struggle that a lot of people have. If you hear how a lot of people talk about discipline, like some people have been asked about how they get their discipline, and it is helpful. I'm not against it. I have used some of it. So, for example, Marquise Brownlee, he was asked on the Flagrant podcast about how he disciplines himself when it comes to the phone.
Phone time, your screen time is
a lot of screen time.
7, 8, 6 hours, 9 hours a day.
Yeah.
Not all day, just when I get a text. What happens a lot of times when I get a text personally, I look at the text and then, I'm in a wormhole of other things I can look at.
Take the phone out of my pocket. Suddenly I'm
It's
in.
over.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm on TikTok already. Like,
Dude,
that's
my
how
wife
easy
this
it
morning
is.
asked me to do a thing for her, right? And she has to do this every single time. She goes, Andrew, could you ask about that thing? I take out my phone, and then 30 seconds later, she goes, did you ask about the thing? And I'm on like Brazzers or something. I'm like, yeah, I'm asking about it immediately. But it's so true.
You're in a
get sucked
wormhole now.
It is, and I didn't notice how sucked in I was without even realizing like how secondary. My thumb would just naturally go and click on the icon. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
My thumb just has a mind of its own.
It's not my fault.
And you like memorize exactly where the icons are on your home screen, and it's just there. And you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
On the phone, because the second you open the phone, you're in.
It's over.
It's in. Hours in, less.
So how do you do less phone time? How do you get caught or stop yourself from getting caught up in the scroll?
Personally?
Yeah.
My goal, my only thing that I've started doing like a few months ago is I start my day without my phone. I like getting out of bed, feet on the ground, start the day without touching the phone.
Yeah.
My watch wakes me up actually. It just like taps me on the wrist and I just go, all right, time to get up. Because as soon as I like take the phone off, hit the alarm, stop button, suddenly I'm right where I was gonna be with this. Mm-hmm. So that's my thing that I think works kind of well.
Then Mike Tyson talks about how he used to discipline himself from eating ice cream when he knows he should be training.
My question is this. When you said in the beginning, a good fighter has to be diligent, committed, doing what you hate to do, but doing it like you love it. In your life, what is the thing that you hated the most to do, but forced yourself to do it?
Dieting. Yeah, I love ice cream, right? I would buy the ice cream, put it in the freezer, and not touch it. But I'm very tempted to do it, though.
And we have people like Cat Williams from the now famous, or will I say infamous interview on Club Shay Shay, where he talks about just from learning by paying attention to, and this is one thing I really wanted to talk about, that Cat Williams interview, but I didn't want to jump on the bandwagon, I didn't want to make it a reaction. So my response is, so I understand a lot of what he says. I really admire him for how he learns from situations. So he talks about how he was homeless at 13 years old after moving away from home, from his family, and going and sleeping in the park in Florida somewhere. He just saw that the reason why people were homeless, most of them, was mostly because of drugs and alcohol and other vices. So they lost everything because of this. So he decided never to do drugs.
I didn't experience anything once I left home that I hadn't signed up for. If anything, it saved my life. Me being homeless for that small period of time allowed me to see all of the people that were in that situation and to see that these were lawyers and doctors and teachers, and that these people were white and black and Asian and Indian, and the only thing that all of these homeless people had in common was they made a bad decision and aligned themselves with drugs. And I interviewed them all. What drug? What? And guess what, Shannon? Nobody had a great story. Nobody had a great story of what meth had done for them, what crack had done for them, what cocaine had done for them, what heroin had done for them, what speed had done for them. Nobody had them stories. Everybody's story was, I had my life together. And then I decided to do this dumb thing. And I lost my wife, I lost my house, I lost my cars, I lost my reputation, and I'm now out here sucking penis in the woods. What? Talk about scared straight. You ain't got to worry about me. If it ain't weed or nicotine, you won't see me touching it. I don't want no parts. I done seen what these things can do to people. Anything that take over your free will is the devil itself.
And there are other people also, like Mr. Beast. He has different type of discipline.
Do you feel like there's a personality type amongst YouTubers that makes them successful?
100%. To be a successful YouTuber, you have to sit in your room and just fucking have little social interaction for a very long time.
Yeah.
Like probably a solid 3 to 5 years minimum of just being a fucking loser and sitting in your room and just filming videos. And if you're, that's what it is. I mean, for the most part, like, because your first videos are gonna suck. Like they are, it's gonna take you a couple years to make them good, and it's just like a lot of time. And
But
who
I
the
look
fuck
at, like-
has that kind of
I
time?
look like
I would say you have these little unicorns who are just, they're naturally funny, but most of us, you just gotta beat it in our heads over the course of years, like fucking be entertaining.
So now the one way to bring discipline, like we talked about, is control. The way these people have talked about. So that's one way where there's a motivation and you push yourself. So for whatever reason, you can push yourself where you want to achieve something. So you sacrifice, you know, and that is discipline comes that way. The other way, you know, I was watching a video from Hardcore Spirituality channel, and he was talking about dharana, or watching your breath, the discipline of watching your breath. He was asked a question about how to bring intensity to breath watching, and what he talked about was emotions, because the strongest thing that people have or know, the most intense thing that people know is emotion. So bring emotion to your practices. Then I remembered I watched a video a while back, a couple of years ago, where there was a Buddhist monk. He was talking about how to do the breath watching and or just how to sit in meditation. He was saying you close your mouth like this, and then you know, your teeth together, and then you put your tongue on your teeth and just smile. So, and just that emotion, like if you bring that sort of emotion to the breath watching, it becomes a lot easier. There is more intensity to it. So this was the other way of doing it. So through growth or learning about yourself and about life, discipline comes. Or you can go through by force. It's your choice. But as Chuang Tzu says, easy is right.
Discipline does not mean control. It's not about controlling yourself. It's about having sense to do exactly what's needed. It simply means that in any given situation, you can do what is needed, not what you want to do. That is, you are essentially not acting out of your personal compulsions, but according to the requirement of the situation.
So, from this you see, discipline in the orthodox sense has no place in a mind that's really wanting to learn about truth, learn about pleasure. It is really out of that learning comes an extraordinary sense of order, which we were talking the other day. The order which comes with the observation in oneself of pleasure, the order. And there is pleasure, there is enjoyment. A marvelous sense of ending each enjoyment as you live, each moment. You don't carry over the past enjoyment. Then that becomes pleasure. Then it has no meaning. But repetition of pleasure is monotony, is boredom. And they are bored in this country and other countries because they're fed up with pleasure. But they want other pleasures in other directions.
Be responsible to yourself. Do whatsoever you feel like doing it. If it is wrong, you will have following your act immediately the punishment. If it is right, you will have immediately, instantly following it the reward. You will grow a new sensitivity. Indians call it the third eye. You will start seeing with a new vision, a new eye.
But wait. My promise. So during the video I promised that I'll make a promise. So what's my promise? As part of my yoga, one thing I struggle with is there's a resting posture where you sit on your heels. So you bend down, knees on the ground, and then kneeling down, you sit on your heels like this. So legs, toes touching. So my promise is that in 3 months' time, I'll be able to sit on my heels comfortably for 10 minutes. This is my promise, and I will share it when the time comes. You can believe me or not, but this is a promise to myself more than anything. So, discipline. So learning more about my body and making it a little bit more flexible and silent so it doesn't complain so much, so that I'm more able to do what is needed, how it's needed, where it's needed, like that.